Hi, this is Chris Matten from PwC at the RiskMinds conference in Amsterdam, December 2015. And I'm joined today by Scott Agay, who runs his own consulting business now. And Scott and I have been bumping into each other at risk conferences for 20 years or so now.
It's been
a while, absolutely. Yeah. So Scott, you've just been giving a lunchtime talk, so perhaps you could share with me what you were talking about.
Yeah, certainly, Chris. You know, we've done a lot of work historically on this concept of dual ratings, point in time through the cycle. And it started in the days 10 years ago with Basel II, where everybody, you know, to manage capital stability, the regulators wanted these kind of average long-run calibrations, and those through the cycle calibrations were what the credit models were based on.
Right.
In the bank I was working for at that time, they were actually, though, a pretty big user of public default models. And so we had to do a conversion from PIT to TTC for Basel II. And so that was a little bit like the kind of the Newton's apple falling. And we started thinking about this dual PD framework and the credit cycles that underlie that. And flash forward 10 years and you have IFRS 9 and stress testing, which are pretty explicitly requiring point in time. We think of one as kind of conditional and one as kind of unconditional in our framework. But one of the other things that we find fascinating these days is about this point in the life cycle for Basel II 10 years ago, everybody on our team had, you know, a 2-inch thick Bible for Basel II on their desk. You could open it up and see all the requirements. And these days, I think you can write down IFRS 9 on probably a couple pieces of paper.
Right.
Forward-looking, probability-weighted best estimates of, you know, future expected losses. And so, you know, how do you do that? And in the commercial world, because those models are TTC, retail, they start more PIT. They're TTC in the wholesale world, and so you have to do a conversion. And if you don't get that starting point right and think about how to get that forward term structure, it's hard to get more accurate views of expected losses.
And how far out can you be? Let's say that if you're using a TTC rather than a PIT, 5-year defaults, what are we talking about?
As kind of, we just presented a portfolio using kind of an average double B portfolio at 5 years. And if you look at starting kind of in the best point and getting worse in the cycle, or the worst point and getting better, in terms of where PIT PDs went, you know, you can be off by a factor of 5.
5 times?
Yeah,
wow.
5 times at 5 years. So it is quite large, that doesn't even include, you know, how LGD and EAD moves, because these systematic cycles, industry and region, that really drive PD also drive LGD and EAD. And so our experience statistically, when you put these systematic variables into these models, they fit much better.
So your approach is, rather than building a complete new set of models, so you've got a TTC model and a PIT model, you have essentially one set of data and you can switch between the two? And
absolutely. Everybody's done a lot of investment, of course, in building the Basel II TTC models. And so those are what are used in wholesale and commercial. And so what we're talking about is kind of a batch-driven process that kind of says, okay, is it 80% TTC or 100%, and then uses that starting point to apply the cycles, industry and region, and then figure out what the PIT starting point is, and then the simulation to get the kind of the unconditional.
Rather than having to build a model and you completely
so
model from
you
scratch.
absolutely build it right on top of your existing models. You have to do some diagnostics, but the other part I think that's interesting, that we have a fair amount of experience in, is batch processing of models in retail has been, you know, used for a long time, going back 30, 40, 50 years. But that's much less true in wholesale. You know, the traditional, you know, large corporate, a little bit credit process where you do a rating annually and then you kind of monitor it and don't change it. And so what we've been able to do in this framework is develop a lot of expertise in running these models in batch automation. And that's something that then is very key in IFRS 9 these days, and then stress testing as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much indeed, Scott.
You're very welcome,
I look
Chris.
forward to bumping into you again.
Yes, absolutely. We run it every year. I see you.
That'd be great. Thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.